For this incredible event. My name is Kate Young. I am the Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Science and Sport, the Honourable Kirsty Duncan, and I am also a Member of Parliament for London West. I would like to begin by acknowledging that we are gathered on the traditional territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe, and I'd also like to thank the incredible, dedicated management and staff of the House of Sport, RA Centre, for allowing us to make this announcement in this fantastic facility. This is the first time I've been here, and it really is amazing to see such a creative, collaborative, open space. So I'm sure you have a great time working here, and maybe this is what the House of Commons needs. I would also like to note that we are currently in the federal riding of Ottawa South that is represented by my esteemed colleague, the Honourable David McGuinty. I'm not sure if he's been able to make it today, but I know he wishes he could be here. Today we are here to hear the Honourable Kirsty Duncan, Minister of Science and Sport, make a very important announcement regarding safe sport and gender equity. As we can all agree, all Canadians participating in sport must have the right to an environment that is safe and free from abuse, discrimination, and harassment. The well-being of our children and athletes must be at the forefront of all we do. But before we proceed with today's announcement, I want to recognize some special guests that are here today. Please join me in welcoming Lorraine Lafreniere, the CEO Coaching Association of Canada. Ahmed El Awadi, CEO of Swimming Canada. Ashley Labrie, Athletes Can. Paul Melia, Canadian Centre for Ethics in Sport. Andrew Campbell, ADM Sport and Major Events and Commemorations. Andrew's way back there. Jocelyn East, Senior Program Officer, Sport Canada. Thank you all for joining us this morning. So I'm so pleased to be able to introduce the Honourable Kirsty Duncan. As I mentioned, Minister Duncan is incredibly dedicated to the sport portfolio. Sport has been a part of her life from a very young age. She's done everything from diving and gymnastics to weightlifting and participating in the Highland Games. In fact, there are many times when I'll go into her office and she is weightlifting. Sorry, maybe I shouldn't have mentioned that, but she does like to lift weights. She has even competed in the Boston Marathon. She is a longtime champion of sport who is leading the efforts to build a stronger, more inclusive sports system, all while being a strong advocate for Canadian athletes on the national and international stage. She is dedicated to breaking down the barriers to participating in sport that exist for many Canadians, particularly Indigenous young people. And she is also working to address the pressing issues of clean sport, gender equality and inclusion, and concussion prevention and management. Would you please help me welcome the Minister of Science and Sport, the Honourable Kirsty Duncan.
Good morning, everybody, and Kate, thank you for your kind words. I'd really like to recognize your work. I am so fortunate to work with you on both science and on sport, and I want to thank you for your work, and I hope you enjoy the Canada Games when you go out as much as I have. Our athletes were tremendous. I too want to acknowledge that we gather on the traditional unceded territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe people, and we thank them for the ability to gather here. I'm honored to share the podium with Chief Executive Officer of the Coaching Association of Canada, Lorraine Lafreniere, this morning. She is a tireless advocate for safe sport, along with Ahmed Alawadi. And I thank you both for your tireless work. Nous sommes réunis pour discuter de ce que nous accomplissons ensemble pour rendre notre système sportif encore plus dynamique et plus sûr pour tous les Canadiens et Canadiennes. Since being appointed Minister of Sport a year ago, I've worked hard to put athletes and children at the center of everything we do, from the playground to the podium. This includes, first and foremost, keeping them safe from abuse, discrimination, and harassment. Nothing is more important to me. No athlete or child should ever experience abuse, and my heart breaks for those who have suffered. I'm referring here to recent media reports and other reports of serious instances, including criminal allegations, criminal convictions of sexual abuse in sport in Canada. C'est un problème systémique qui exige un changement de culture, et tout le monde a un rôle à jouer pour le régler. Today we are taking 2 more steps to collectively make changes we want to see in Canadian sport. First, our government is providing funding to the Coaching Association of Canada and to support the development of a model code of conduct for sport in Canada. Our initial investment of more than $200,000 will help the association carry out a series of regional summits, culminating in a national Safe Sports Summit this spring. These summits will include athletes, coaches, child advocates, researchers, sport organizations, and governments from across the country. And Lorraine will speak in more detail about the process in a few minutes. A model nationwide code of conduct is another step towards ensuring harmonized action to prevent abuse in sport at all levels. This model code of conduct will be available to any sport organization in the country to make their sport safer. It will also serve as the basis for training programs, the management of abuse, discrimination, and harassment cases, and a model for common sanctioning for those who breach the code. The second step we are taking today is that our government is creating a Gender Equity Secretariat at Sport Canada. By developing, implementing, and monitoring gender equity initiatives and ensuring positive outcomes across the Canadian sports system, this new secretariat will help us meet our target of achieving gender equity in sport at every level by 2035. And let me be clear, my goal is to get this done much sooner. Funding for these 2 initiatives will flow from our government's 2018 investment of $30 million to support the participation and retention of women and girls in all aspects of the Canadian sports system. When we make sport safer and more inclusive, we make sport better for everyone. As you know, my priority from week 1 has been to end abuse in sport. Last April, I announced a working group on gender equity in sport to share experiences, perspectives, and insights on gender-based violence and promote safe sport. The group did amazing work, and I want to thank them. Lorraine, of course, you were a member of that group. It was a blue ribbon panel, and they are informing the important steps we will continue to take in the coming months. Then in June, I announced new measures for federally funded sport organizations, and I made it clear that I would withhold funding unless our national sport organizations strengthen their mandatory abuse, discrimination, harassment policies, that they immediately disclose any incident of abuse, that they put in place a third party to address these cases, and provide mandatory training to their members by April 2020. It's also important to remember that this problem spans jurisdictions. That's why I engaged the provinces and territories and personally spoke to each of my ministerial counterparts throughout the summer and fall about the need for collective action to end abuse. And last week, we all met in Red Deer on the eve of the 2019 Canada Winter Games, where we endorsed the Red Deer Declaration for the prevention of abuse, discrimination, and harassment in sport. Mes collègues des provinces et des territoires ont travaillé d'arrache-pied dans ce dossier. Je suis reconnaissante de leur dévouement et de leur collaboration. En adoptant cette déclaration, nous avons pris des engagements clairs. In Red Deer, we agreed that all Canadians have the right to participate in sport. An environment that is safe, welcoming, inclusive, ethical, and respectful. An environment that protects the dignity, rights, and health of all participants. Targeted investments, strong partnerships, and a collective determination to make change happen. These are the ingredients for success as we focus on protecting our athletes and children in sport. Le message est clair. Le silence, les regards détournés, c'est terminé. Nous devons et nous allons faire tout ce que nous pouvons pour que notre système sportif soit plus sûr, plus sain et plus inclusif pour tous les Canadiens. Working together, we will make sport safer for all Canadians. I'd now like to pass the podium to the extraordinary, and I mean extraordinary, Chief Executive Officer of the Coaching Association of Canada and tireless advocate for safe sport in Canada, Lorraine Lafrenière.
Alors, je vous remercie d'être parmi nous aujourd'hui. Minister, thank you so much. I jokingly tell my colleagues I've never had so many texts from a minister before on the topic of safe sport, so she keeps me hopping. The Coaching Association of Canada has a unique partnership across the country. We partner with every province and territory and 66 national sport organizations, and we work collectively for the National Coaching Certification Program, or the NCCP, the Programme National de Certification des Entraîneurs, and it's the ties that bind, it's the ties that unite us. Our mandate is actually coaching development from community to high performance in an ethical environment. And that is what opens the door for CAC to facilitate and collaborate with every province and territory to find a way to create the model code of conduct. And as I reached out to our partners across the country, the response was very immediate and very dramatic and very much yes, and can we talk about this more, please? And so with that, we're launching our first Safe Sports Summit on March 6th in Ontario. So we will be working with the jurisdiction Ontario to talk about their realities and talk about what a model code might look like and what a model sanctions might look like. And from there, we're going to Vancouver on March 11th. And we're working through the dates and how we collaborate across the country, ending in Nunavut on April 11th. Alors, nos partenaires sont venus à la table incroyablement pour participer et pour nous aider à trouver un code universel pour protéger nos enfants. I can't talk about how much conversation I've had in the last week since the CBC investigation, and it's been centered around how do we create change, how do we work together, how do we protect children, how do we protect our beautiful sports system, how do we protect coaching. And so that's been very inspiring and exhausting, and it's been very meaningful, and every conversation I have with the reporter is about how do we create change. And so that has been very emotionally moving for me personally after a 30-year career in sport, to see such change and such a desire to create a better sports system. So I feel really honored about that, and I feel incredibly thrilled to have this time with this minister and our national sport organization partners who are in the room to believe that we need to change sport. Alors ça me fait tellement d'émotion, c'est incroyable et c'est énorme, c'est un moment dans le temps de notre vie où on peut faire des changements incroyables dans le système sportif. And I look forward to doing that, and that is my dedication for this last half of my career, I hope. So I also share in the National Sport Organization Safe Sport Task Force with Ahmed Alawadi, who's the CEO of Swimming Canada. And I see my other CEO colleagues up here. I see canoe kayak, and I see hockey, and I see taekwondo and fencing, among others. And I see Doug McCrory from CCES, who's here because I know Paul is out with a bad back. And I see Lane McAdam from Own the Podium in High Performance. And I see Tasha Rodenheiser from the RA Center, who wants to make sport. I see my colleagues from Ringette. I see my incredible partners at the CAC coming to the table. And Ahmed represents that, and he's the co-chair of the NSO Safe Sport Task Force. And so we spend a lot of time living and thinking about how we do this and how we hear from the provinces and territories to build a better sports system, and how we can make that change based on the capacity and the realities of community sport across the country, into a national summit that we can affect the change at the national level. Ahmed, you are such a leader in the safe sport space. Swimming Canada has done such great work. You have safe sport officers in your organization. You live and breathe it, and you're very transparent about it, and you're very honest about it. And you are an enabler in change. So thank you, and I introduce you to close the conference.
Wow, I wish I got introduced like that every time. Mesdames et messieurs, Madame la ministère Duncan, distingués invités, bonjour. Je suis le directeur général de Natation Canada, mais moi je représente tous les sports aujourd'hui. Nous parlons de la sécurité dans le sport. Ce n'est pas facile. Par le passé, nous n'avons pas fait le bon travail. Nous avons des victimes. Il y a des lacunes dans nos procédures. There's gaps in our system. Par le passé, des sports tenaient étouffer l'affaire, meaning some sports were sweeping things under the carpet. We know that. And this is where we're starting from in certain cases. Last year, the minister asked the National Safe Sport Task Force to come up with suggestions, solutions, and a pathway for major issues. This was one of the first requests we've received like that from the minister. And immediately there was a rhythm, and I'm not going to go through everyone Lorraine just mentioned, but there was a rhythm from every person that is involved in the task force, whether it's multi-sport, NSOs, partners, that everyone was on the same direction, and that's extremely rare for those of us who have been around a while. And it's very difficult. And nous sommes très fiers, we're very proud to announce the minister has funded a national consultation strategy, which Lorraine just spoke about. The sports and partners will be more transparent. We need to be more accountable to the Government of Canada. We need to be more accountable to our members, the athletes, the coaches, officials, and anyone who loves sport. We will address issues, and I'm going to pause a little bit on this one, and new and old issues. And I'm going to repeat it one more time, new and old issues. So I'm reaching out to people that are out there that are victims that have not come forward. If you're out there and you haven't come forward, say something. It's okay. Go to a teacher, go to a friend, go to a family member. Call law enforcement directly. Please feel safe to do so. The culture has changed. We know what the culture was like many years ago, and it was different. But that doesn't matter. We're reaching out to you now to say it's okay to come forward. We have systems in place. We will work and present on solutions on education and prevention. We will change some negative sport cultures to positive ones. We will make a tremendous activity of sport even better. So I'm going to keep it short and simple and say thank you. At this point, we'll be moving to a photo session and then a Q&A session with the Minister and Lorraine. So thank you very much for having me here today.